Lena stood in front of the mirror, tying her long dark hair into a neat ponytail. She wore a plain brown apron over her shirt, the logo of Nova Grounds Café printed in faded letters across the front. It wasn't her cafe. It wasn't even her job, but today she had to help. Her older sister Mira was lying in bed with a terrible fever. Her voice was hoarse, her skin pale. "Please, Lena," Mira had whispered that morning. "Just take care of the cafe for one day. Just till I get better." Lena wasn't used to talking to strangers. She liked quiet places, books, and long walks where she didn't have to explain anything. But for Mira, she would do it. The cafe was small, cozy, and warm. The scent of coffee, beans, and fresh bread filled the air. Soft music played in the background. By 8 a.m., the first customers had started to arrive: office workers, students, tired parents. Lena smiled awkwardly, wrote down orders, and did her best to remember the coffee machine settings. Small latte, no sugar. Large black coffee. 1. Herbal tea. She repeated to herself, wiping her hands on a towel. It wasn't as hard as she had feared. Most people were kind. Some didn't even look at her when they placed their orders. Others smiled and thanked her politely. She began to feel a little more confident, but then, at exactly 9:47 a.m., a tall man walked in. He didn't order right away. He walked past the counter, past the other tables, and sat quietly at table 3, the seat in the far corner, the one under the small window. He wore a dark coat, even though the weather was warm. His hair was short and silver at the sides, and his eyes were sharp, focused, like he was always thinking about something dangerous. Lena waited for him to come to the counter. He didn't single quotes T. After a minute, she grabbed her notepad and walked over. "Good morning, sir. What would you like to order?" The man looked up slowly, meeting her eyes. For a brief moment, Lena felt something strange in her chest, like her heart had skipped a beat. His eyes were not just focused, they were searching. He tilted his head slightly and said, in a low voice, "You're not her." Lena blinked. "I'm sorry, you're not the usual one," he said. "Where is she?" Lena hesitated. "You mean Mira? She's my sister. She's not feeling well today, so I'm just helping out." The man didn't respond for a few seconds. Then he nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. "Coffee," he said. "Black, no sugar." She quickly wrote it down and walked back to the counter. Her hands felt cold. Her heart was still beating fast, and she didn't know why. Something about that man made her nervous, not scared, just alert. She poured his coffee carefully, made sure the cup was clean, and carried it back to his table. "Here you go, sir." As she placed the cup on the table, the man leaned closer and said something she wasn't ready for. They started watching again. Lena froze. "Sorry?" But the man only picked up the cup, took a slow sip, and looked out the window. She waited for a moment, hoping he would explain. He didn't. Feeling confused and a little shaken, Lena walked back behind the counter. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The man didn't move. He finished his coffee slowly, his eyes always watching people, shadows, the sky. And then, just as silently as he came in, he stood up. But before he left, he placed something on the table. Lena didn't see it right away. When she came to clear the table, she found it a small silver cube, the size of a sugar packet. It shimmered slightly, like it wasn't made of normal metal. There were tiny lines on its surface, moving like soft waves. Lena picked it up carefully. It felt warm. Taped to the bottom was a tiny note. The handwriting was sharp and neat. "Protect this, they are coming. D." Her fingers tightened around the cube. Her throat felt dry. She looked outside. The man was gone. No footsteps, no goodbye, no sound. Only the cube. And a feeling in her chest that her life had just changed forever. The cube didn't make a sound. It didn't blink or shake. It just lay in Lena's palm, smooth and silver. glowing ever so slightly under the cafe lights. She placed it on the shelf under the counter, behind the old coffee tins where no customer would notice. Lena glanced at the front door again. The man was gone. No name, no contact, no explanation. Just the cube ... that, and that strange message, "Protect this. They are coming." She kept hearing his voice in her head. "You're not her. They've started watching again." But watching. What? And who was they? The rest of the day passed slowly. She served coffee, wiped tables, and smiled at customers, but her mind was elsewhere. At every sound of the door opening, her heart jumped, expecting the man to return. He didn't single quotes by the time she locked the cafe that evening. Her hands were cold and her thoughts heavy. The next morning, Lena arrived early. Mira was still resting. At home, a little better but still weak. "Don't come near me," she coughed over the phone. "I don't want you to get sick too." Lena didn't mention the cube. Not yet. She opened the cafe and cleaned the tables. Her hands paused when she reached table 3. Everything looked normal, but she still felt something, like the air around. The chair was heavier than before. By 9 a.m., people began to arrive. Lena moved quickly, taking orders, preparing drinks, and wiping the counters. She smiled, nodded, and stayed polite. But at 9:48, exactly 1 minute later than yesterday, the man from table 3 walked in again. Same coat, same slow walk, same calm eyes. He didn't look around. He didn't wait in line. He simply walked to table 3 and sat down. Lena's stomach tightened. She wiped her hands and went over. "Good morning," she said carefully. He looked up. "You kept it safe?" She blinked. "The cube?" He gave a slight nod. "It's under the counter." She whispered. "What is it?" "I can't say here," he replied softly. "But it's not just metal. It's a key, a signal. And it only responds to certain people." "Why me?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the menu board. Same drink. Lena nodded and walked back, feeling more confused than ever. Who was he? A spy? A soldier? Some kind of agent? She made his black coffee and placed the cup on a small tray. As she poured the foam, she noticed something strange. The cream moved on its own, forming a shape, a small symbol that looked like 2 circles crossed by a line. She hadn't made that. Her hands shook slightly. She carried the cup to his table. "Here you go," she said, placing it in front of him. Her eyes drifted to the foam. The symbol was still there. The man smiled. "It recognizes you." "What does that mean?" "It means Mira was right to trust you." Lena's breath caught in her throat. "You know my sister?" He nodded. "She's been part of this for years, hiding in plain sight, running this cafe as a front." "A front for what?" He leaned forward. "To hide the cube. And to watch for signs." "Signs of what?" she asked. He lowered his voice. "They call themselves the overseers. They've been watching Earth for a long time, controlling leaders, turning governments, changing the world slowly. Mira was one of the few who found out. She joined a group to stop them." Lena's heart beat faster. "And you?" "I was one of them," he said quietly. "But I left." She stared at him. "Why?" "Because humans," he looked around the cafe, "are different. You fight, you feel, you change things. Most species don't. The overseers saw that as a threat. I saw it as hope." Lena didn't know what to say. He took a sip of the coffee. "They know the cube is here now. They'll come looking." She stepped back. "Then take it, hide it again." "I can't," he said. "Only someone born here can unlock it. Someone human. But I don't know what I'm doing." "You don't have to yet," he said. "You only need to protect it, and listen." "Listen to what?" He stood up. "You'll hear it, when the time is right." As he turned to leave, Lena asked, "Wait, what's your name?" He paused. "Darnak," and then he walked out again. No goodbye. No sound. Lena stood frozen for a moment, then ran to the counter. She took out the cube and stared at it. This time, when she touched it, it hummed softly. A faint glow ran across. Its surface blue, then green, then white. The foam in the cup at table 3 still held the strange symbol, untouched. Lena knew she was no longer just helping at a cafe. Something bigger was happening, and she was now part of it. Lena didn't sleep much that night. She sat on her bed, staring at the glowing cube on her desk. It pulsed softly in the dark room, like it was breathing. Every few minutes, it changed color: blue, green, white, then back again. She wanted to ask Myra everything, but her sister was still weak and sleeping most of the time. Lena didn't want to scare her either, but her head was full of questions. What was the cube really? Who were the overseers? And what did Darnak mean when he said Mira was hiding something beneath the cafe? By morning, she made a decision. She would go early to the cafe before customers arrived. She had to look. She had to know. It was still dark when she unlocked the front door. The cafe smelled of wood and old coffee grounds. Everything was quiet. She turned on the lights one by one and walked to the counter. The cube was in her bag. When she pulled it out, it began to glow brighter than before. "Okay," she whispered to herself. "You're supposed to show me something." She looked under the counter again, searching for anything strange. There were old tins, wires, and cleaning cloths. She tapped along the wood, hoping to hear a hollow sound. Nothing. Then she remembered. Something. Mira had always told her, never move the bottom coffee crate in the pantry. It's holding some loose pipes, but what if that wasn't true? Lena ran to the back pantry. The bottom crate sat where it always had, heavy and dusty. She took a deep breath and pulled it aside. There was no sound of pipes. Instead, beneath, it was a metal panel. It had a circular hole in the center, just the right size for the cube. Lena's hands trembled as she placed the cube into the hole. The panel clicked. A quiet humming filled the air, followed by a soft light glowing along the edges. Then the floor shifted, revealing a small stairway leading down. A hidden passage. Lena stared at it, her heart pounding. She grabbed a flashlight from the wall and stepped inside. The stairs led to a small room underground. The walls were smooth and metallic, glowing faintly. It didn't feel like something built by humans. In the center was a holographic console, with floating symbols and light screens. To the left was a shelf full of tech-strange tools, blinking devices, and something that looked like a miniature satellite. On the right was a small desk. On it lay an old leather journal. Her sister's journal. Lena opened it, flipping through the pages. Mira's handwriting filled every line. Day 3. The overseers are getting bolder. 2 came into the cafe yesterday. Darnak says we're running out of time. Day 11. I trained with the vigil team again today. They say Earth is one of the last planets with free thought. That's why the overseers want control. Day 25. The cube must never fall into the wrong hands. Darnak believes in my sister. I want to believe too. Maybe one day she'd be ready. Lena closed the journal, her hands shaking. So it was true. Mira had been part of something big, something dangerous. Vigil, Darnak, the overseers. It wasn't just a story. Her quiet sister, who smiled at customers and made warm coffee, had been part of a secret fight to protect Earth. And now, Lena was holding the key to it all. She looked at the console. The moment she stepped near it, the cube lit up again. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed Earth, surrounded by small red dot ships, alien ships. One by one, the dots blinked closer. They're coming, Lena whispered. A soft voice echoed through the room. It wasn't a real voice, more like a message recorded inside the console. It was Darnak's voice. If you're hearing this, it means Mira can't continue. The overseers have begun their final phase. They will take over Earth's communication. Technology and governments. You must protect the cube. You must find the rest of Vigil. And Lena, if you're hearing this, it means I was right about you." The message ended. Lena stood frozen. How did he know her name? How did he know she would be the one here? She walked back to the journal and flipped to the last page. Mira had written the final message. "Lena, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I kept this secret. I wanted you to have a normal life. But I've seen your strength, your kindness. I always knew that if something happened to me, you would carry the light. The cafe was never just a cafe. It was our home base. And table 3? That's where it all began." Lena wiped a tear from her cheek. Her sister had trusted her more than she ever knew. She stayed in the hidden room for another hour, learning what she could. The console held maps, data, and names of other Vigil members across the city. It even had a contact signal. But when she tried to reach out, there was no answer. Maybe they were already in hiding, or worse, already found. When she climbed back up, she sealed the panel again. She placed the crate over it and cleaned everything quickly. Just in time, the first customer of the morning pushed the door open. "Good morning," Lena said with a calm smile, but inside her mind was racing. The cube, the console, Mira's secret. Life. The man at table 3 had given her more than just a warning. He had given her a purpose, and Lena wasn't going to let her sister down. The cafe looked peaceful from the outside. The morning sun poured through the windows. The soft smell of baked bread filled the air. People smiled as they waited for their coffee. But Lena wasn't smiling. She moved quickly, serving customers and wiping tables, but her mind was on the cube. It was now hidden inside a locked cabinet under the counter. She had learned too much in the last 2 days to relax. Her sister's secret room, Darnek's warning, the Vigil console, they all told her one thing: the overseers were real. And they were getting closer. Lena hadn't told Mira anything yet. Her sister was still weak and resting at home. Mira thought Lena was just helping for 1 or 2 days. But now, Lena knew she couldn't walk away. She checked the time, 9:47. Her heart skipped. That was the same time Darnak had entered both days before. She turned toward the door, half expecting to see him again. The door opened, but it wasn't him. A man walked in, same height, same coat. His hair was silver on the sides. He moved like Darnak, calm, slow. He even smiled the same way. He walked straight to table 3 and sat down. But something was wrong. Lena watched carefully as she approached. She held her notepad, though her hand was slightly shaking. "Good morning, sir," she said softly. "Same coffee?" The man looked up. His eyes were the same color as Darnak's, but there was something missing. No warmth, no kindness. Just silence. Then he smiled. "Yes," he said. "Same as before." Lena nodded, turned, and walked back toward the counter. Her hands were sweating now. Her mind spun fast. That's not Darnak. It looks like him. But it's not him. She reached beneath the counter and pressed a small black button Mira had once shown her. If anything strange happens, Mira had once said, press this. It alerts the lockdown system. Only use it if you feel truly unsafe. A tiny red light blinked under the shelf. The cafe's hidden defense mode was now active. She began preparing the coffee, but kept watching the man at table 3. He was scanning the room. Not with his eyes, but with something else. A tiny device slipped from his sleeve and rested under his palm. He placed it on the table, out of sight of the other customers. A small pulse spread from it, barely visible, but the cafe lights flickered for half a second. Lena's heart dropped. He was scanning for the cube. She quickly placed the coffee on a tray and walked over. Here's your drink. Sir, she said. He smiled again. Thank you, Lena. Her eyes narrowed. I didn't tell you my name. His smile didn't fade. You don't have to. Before she could step back, He reached for her wrist. But the moment his fingers brushed her sleeve, BZZT. The café. Lights flickered again, this time harder. Then. A sudden whir came from above. The emergency lockdown had begun. Metal shutters dropped over the windows. The front door sealed itself with a hiss. The lights turned red, and a soft warning voice echoed through the walls. Security mode active. Please remain calm. Threat detected. Customers began to panic, standing up, confused and scared. The man at table 3 jumped to his feet. He looked angry now. So you did know, he hissed. Lena backed away, her voice firm. You're not Darnak. Who are you? The man's skin shimmered, and for a split second, his face flickered. Underneath, it wasn't human. Cold, pale skin with glowing veins. Eyes like glass. A shapeshifter. I came to retrieve the key, he growled. You should not be holding it. You are untrained. Weak, Lena stepped back toward the counter. Maybe, but I'm not alone. Suddenly, a plasma net dropped from the ceiling and wrapped around him with a sharp crackle. He screamed as the energy pulsed through his body, locking his movements. Resisting unit, the cafe's voice said. Containment successful. Customers stared in shock. Some had dropped their drinks. One woman had fainted in her chair. Lena turned to them quickly. It's okay. Please stay calm. It's just an equipment failure. Emergency teams are on the way. She tapped another button under the counter. The shutters lifted. The red lights faded. The man or creature still trapped in the net had stopped struggling. But his eyes locked on Lena with hate. You won't win, he growled. Others are coming. You've been marked. Lena didn't flinch. Let them come. This place isn't just a cafe. A few minutes later, once the customers had been cleared, out in security mode was off, Lena called Mira. Her sister sounded weak but alert. Lena, what's going on? I heard something in the system just now. Lena didn't lie. There was a shapeshifter. He came pretending to be Darnak. He tried to scan the cube. There was silence on the line. You saw one? Myra finally saw it, her voice shaken. That means they've started. We don't have much time. I know, Lena replied. There's something you should see. That afternoon, Mira arrived at the cafe, wearing a coat and scarf, still pale but strong. Enough to walk. Lena took her to the hidden room. Mira stood in shock, staring at the open console. The map showed more red dots than before. They're closer, she whispered. Too close. I saw your journal, Lena said. I know everything now. And I'm not walking away. Mira looked at her sister, eyes full of fear but also pride. I didn't want you in this, but now. I'm glad you're here. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Lena said, We need to find the others. The rest of Vigil. Mira nodded slowly. Then let's begin. The air in the hidden room was heavy. Mira stood silently beside her sister, eyes on the holographic map. Dozens of red dots were now visible, slowly moving toward Earth. The overseers weren't hiding anymore. They were preparing for something. Big Dot. Lena turned to her. You said we need to find Vigil. How do we do that? Mira sighed. There's a contact beacon in the system. I used it to speak with other members before. But when I got sick, I shut everything down. It's been quiet since then. Try it again, Lena said. Myra nodded and walked to the console. Her fingers moved across the glowing panel. A small sound rang out, like a digital chime echoing in deep space. They waited. The console screen blinked. No signal. Maybe they've gone silent, Myra whispered. Or worse, just then, the screen flashed again. This time, a message appeared. 1 unit inbound. Coordinates locked. Estimated arrival, 18 minutes. Lena frowned. 1 unit? Who? Before Mira could speak, the cafe's upper alarm blinked once. Someone had entered the building. Lena rushed up the stairs and peeked through the kitchen door into the main cafe. A man stood at the entrance, tall and calm, dressed in a neat black suit. He didn't look like a soldier. His hair was salt and pepper, and he carried no weapons. He walked to the counter and placed a silver card on the surface. Lena slowly stepped forward. The man smiled gently. "Lena and Mira, I presume?" Lena didn't answer. Her hand moved under the counter, close to the emergency button. The man raised his hand slightly. "No need, I'm not one of them. My name is Tomas, and I'm with Vigil." Lena blinked. "Vigil still exists. Very much so," he said. "But we've been underground for a while. You can thank Darnek for waking us up again." Mira appeared from the kitchen, wrapped in a sweater. She looked weak but alert. "Tomas," she said softly, "you're real?" Tomas gave a small nod, alive and very tired. They sat in the back room, drinking warm tea as Tomas explained. "For the past 5 years, the overseers have slowly taken control of Earth's systems, government files, satellites, even food production. But they moved carefully, slowly, quietly, because they feared one thing: human chaos." "Chaos?" Lena asked. Thomas smiled. "Humans are unpredictable. You ask too many questions, you fight back. You never follow patterns for long. That makes you dangerous to them. So what changed?" Mira asked. Tomas looked serious. "They found out about the cube. That means they're done hiding. They'll move faster now." Lena placed the cube on the table. "Then what do we do with this?" He looked at it carefully. "It's not just a signal. It's a disruption core. If activated at the right place, it can disable the overseer's fleet. Shut down their eye coordination. They'll be blind, scattered." "Where's the right place?" Myra asked. "An old Vigil base," Tomas said. "Buried under the eastern mountains. We abandoned it years ago. But the launch platform and signal tower are still there. We just need to get the cube inside." "How far is it?" Lena asked. 4 hours by air, but we have a ship ready." Lena took a deep breath. "Then we go," Tomas nodded. "We leave tonight. We still have time before the overseers arrive. Fully, but once they land, we won't get another chance." That evening, as the cafe lights dimmed and the last customer left, Lena locked the door. She looked around the place she once thought was just a small, peaceful coffee shop. Now, she knew it had been a battlefield in disguise. Mira packed a bag with emergency supplies. Tomas opened a hidden panel near the pantry and led them to a small underground tunnel. At the end of the path, hidden under the alley behind the cafe, stood a sleek Vigil craft, black, silent, and shaped like a hawk. They climbed in. The ship rose into the night sky without a sound. Lights of the city faded below. The stars above looked closer than ever. Lena sat near the front window, holding the cube in her hands. It pulsed with soft light. Tomas looked at her from the pilot's seat. "You're handling this better than most trained agents." Lena gave a small smile. "I was just here to help my sister for one day, and now you're carrying Earth's last hope." Mira sat beside her. "You're not alone. We'll do this together." 2 hours into the flight, Tomas pointed to the dark horizon. "There," he said, "that mountain range. The old base is under the 3rd peak. We land behind it and walk the rest of the way." But before they could descend, a warning flashed on the screen. "Enemy signal detected." "Incoming ship." Tomas's hands flew over the controls. "Hold on." The Vigil craft dropped lower, spinning into a valley. A thin black ship shot past them. Above, scanning the area. The overseers had arrived faster than expected. "Just one ship?" Lena asked. Tomas shook his head. "No, it's a scout. The rest are coming." They landed near the mountain, and the group began hiking up the rocky path. Cold wind blew across the cliffside. Lena felt the cube vibrating more strongly now, as if it could sense the signal tower ahead. After an hour of climbing, they reached a hidden steel door carved into the mountain. Mira scanned her old ID card. It clicked open. Inside was a dark hallway, covered in dust. Old computers and lights lined the walls. A broken screen on the side still glowed faintly. "This was your base?" Lena asked. "One of many," Tomas said. "But this is the only one with a signal tower strong enough to reach the enemy fleet." They moved quickly through the halls, deeper into the mountain. At last, they reached a tall chamber with a glowing platform in the center. Whirs hung from the ceiling like vines. Tomas stepped to the control panel. "Lena, bring the cube." She walked forward and placed the cube in the center slot. The lights turned blue. The ground shook. And far above, in the sky outside, something started moving. The cube locked into place on the platform. Its soft blue glow spread across the room like a slow wave, lighting up the old metal walls. The entire base came alive. Screens flickered on, machines started humming, and cables sparked gently. Tomas checked the control panel. His face turned serious. "It's working," he said. "The cube is syncing with the tower. In 5 minutes, the signal will reach Earth's orbit and send a disruption wave. What happens after that?" Lena asked. "The overseers will lose their control systems," he replied. "Their ships will be confused, scattered. Earth's hidden defenses can launch before they regroup." Mira stood beside Lena. "But they won't wait quietly. They'll come." Tomas nodded. "We need to hold this place for 5 minutes. Just 5. Suddenly, a red alarm lit up above the main screen. "Intruders detected." Tomas's voice dropped. "They're here." Outside the mountain, in the cold night air, a black ship landed silently on the rocks. From its open hatch stepped 6 figures, tall, pale, dressed in dark armor that shimmered like liquid metal. Their eyes glowed faint white. They walked in silence, heading toward the mountain entrance. The overseers had found the signal tower, and they had come to stop it. Inside, Lena tightened her grip on the metal rod she had picked up earlier. Mira stood ready with a compact pulse blaster from the base's storage room. Tomas placed himself near the door, holding a control stick that activated the tunnel defenses. "Stay close," he said. "We can't let them near the cube." The first explosion hit the door like a hammer. Boom! Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights shook. Tomas slammed the red button on the side wall. A thick metal gate dropped between the outer hallway and the main chamber. "Defense grid on," the system announced. A second blast came, stronger than the first. "They're forcing their way in," Mira said. 3 more minutes," Tomas whispered. Lena stared at the cube. Its color had changed again, glowing gold now. A soft vibration filled the floor beneath her feet. Then a sound, sharp, high-pitched, and unnatural, echoed through the air vents. "They're inside the hallway," Tomas said. From the far end, 2 of the overseers entered, moving fast weapons raised. Tomas activated a ceiling turret. A beam of blue light shot out, hitting one directly. It fell, sparking. The other moved like lightning, dodging bullets, flipping in the air. Lena grabbed her rod and swung hard as it came close. The metal hit the creature's arm, but it barely flinched. Mira fired her pulse blaster. The shot struck its chest, and the figure was thrown backward into the wall. Smoke filled the chamber. 2 minutes left. Tomas called. Another explosion. This time, the second entrance collapsed, and 3 more overseers entered. One aimed directly at the cube. "No!" Lena shouted. She ran forward, grabbing a loose metal pipe from the side. The closest overseer raised its arm, but before it could fire, Lena threw the pipe. It hit the creature's mask, cracking it. Mira followed with another pulse shot, knocking it down. Tomas triggered the backup defense grid. Electric currents ran through the floor panels. 2 overseers stumbled, unable to move for a moment. But they were fast too. Fast. One jumped over the electric floor and landed near the console. It reached for the cube. Lena rushed forward. "Stop!" she screamed. She tackled the creature with all her strength. They fell hard. Pain shot through her shoulder. But she held on, grabbing its arm and twisting it away from the cube. The creature shoved her off, but Mira was ready. She fired again. This time, the shot hit its head directly. The overseer fell and didn't move again. 1 minute left. Tomas shouted. The last remaining overseer raised its hand. A wave of pressure hit them all, knocking Lena and Mira back. The lights flickered. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The cube's glow began to pulse faster. The signal was nearly ready. The overseer walked toward it slowly. Lena, bruised and breathless, looked up. She remembered Darnak's words. It only responds to certain people. You'll hear it when the time is right. And she heard it now. Not with her ears, but in her chest. A hum, a whisper, a voice. Now, she stood up, her legs shaking. The cube glowed white-hot. The overseer reached out its hand, but Lena reached it first. She placed both palms on the cube. There was a blinding flash of light. The entire room shook. A wave of energy burst out, passing through walls, through mountains, through the sky, rising higher and higher until it reached space. In Earth's orbit, the overseer fleet began to shake. Ships lost power. Lights blinked out. Their systems scrambled, crashing. Like broken glass, one by one, their formations fell apart. On Earth, hidden bases opened. From secret silos and underground hangars, Earth's defense fleet launched into the sky, sleek, silent, and human-built. They had been waiting for this moment. And now, they were ready. Back in the mountain, the light faded. Lena stood near the console. Still breathing, still alive. The last overseer was gone, burned out by the pulse. Tomas looked at her in awe. You did it, he said. Mira ran to her and hugged her tightly. You saved us. Lena looked down at the cube. It was now dark. Its job complete. But she knew this wasn't the end. The sun rose slowly over the edge of the mountains. Golden light poured across the rocky slopes and touched the side of the ancient signal tower. Smoke still curled from the broken walls, and scorched metal littered the ground. But the air was quiet. Too quiet. Lena stood near the edge of the cliff, staring at the sky. The night had been full of fire and fear. But now it was morning, clear, still. Behind her, Mira and Tomas repaired a small radio dish, setting it upright again. The cube had gone silent. Its work was complete. Earth's defense system was awake. But something deep inside Lena had changed. She was no longer just a cafe girl, helping out her sister. She had become something else. Tomas's voice crackled through the handheld speaker. Fleet Command just responded. They say the overseer ships are falling back. Mira added, human ships are chasing them off. They're retreating fast. Earth is safe for now. Lena turned around. For now? Tomas nodded. This battle is over, but the war isn't finished. The overseers know we're not defenseless anymore. They'll come again. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Lena looked down at her hands. They still trembled slightly. She remembered the moment she touched the cube, how it had felt like something was waking up inside her, a memory. Or a message. She wasn't sure which. Later that day, the three of them stood near the landing pad. One of the defense team's aircraft arrived, sleek, silver, marked with the old Earth crest. It hovered for a moment before landing with a gentle thud. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He wore a black uniform with a silver stripe down the sleeve. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He looked directly at Lena. You're the one who activated the ancient relay? He asked. Lena hesitated, then nodded. He stepped closer, offering his hand. I'm Commander Ran. On behalf of Earth Defense, I want to thank you. Lena shook his hand slowly. I didn't do it alone. Mira and Tomas helped. And the cube, it chose me, I think. Commander Ran gave a small nod. The cube is old tech. Very old. From before the overseers took control. Only those with A certain genetic signal can activate it. Mira stepped forward. So she's special? More than special, Ron said. She's a key, Lena frowned. A key to what? To the old world, he said, and maybe to a new one. That evening, Lena sat alone near the cliff, watching the stars appear one by one. The sky was peaceful now. But her heart was full of questions. She heard soft footsteps behind her. Mira sat beside her, arms wrapped around her knees. I can't believe it's over, Mira whispered. Is it really? Lena asked. Mira looked at her. You're not going back to the cafe, are you? Lena shook her head. No, I don't. Think I can. Not after this, Mira smiled. Good, because Earth needs you. Lena looked up at the stars again. I think I was meant to find that cube. You were meant to lead something bigger, Mira said gently. They sat there for a long time, watching the stars move slowly across the sky. Over the next week, Earth Defense sent more teams to the mountain base. Engineers worked on repairing the signal tower. Soldiers scanned the surrounding cliffs for leftover overseer tech. And scientists studied the cube with growing excitement. But no one could make it glow again, except Lena. Whenever she entered the chamber, the cube would glow. Softly. Its patterns would shift. Its hum would rise. It had accepted her. Commander Ran offered her a position at the Earth Defense Academy. A place to train, to learn, and to prepare. Not just for war, but for leadership. Before leaving Mountain Base, Lena visited one last room, the chamber where she first saw the cube. She stood in front of it, alone. Her hand brushed the surface, and the cube pulsed once. Just once. Then a small panel slid open on the wall behind it. Inside was a thin black tablet. No buttons, no screen. Just smooth glass. She picked it up. As soon as she touched it, lights appeared. Symbols, words. A language she didn't understand but somehow recognized. A voice echoed softly in her mind. If you are reading this, you are the future. The overseers are not gods, they are thieves. Earth once stood tall. It can rise again. Lena's eyes widened. This was more than a signal device. It was a message from the past, from Earth's lost guardians. Weeks later, back on Earth's surface, life began to shift. People who had been hiding for generations, afraid of the sky, afraid of rebellion, started stepping forward. Engineers, historians, fighters, dreamers. They formed a new circle around Lena, not because she asked for it, but because she had proven something, that humanity could fight back, that Earth was not broken, and that sometimes the quietest people, those just passing through life, like a girl filling in at a cafe, might be the ones chosen by fate. One evening, as the stars appeared again, Tomas stood by the window of the Academy Tower. He looked out over the city, now full of lights and new buildings. Mira joined him. She's different now, Mira said. She's becoming who she was always meant to be, Tomas replied. And Earth? Tomas smiled faintly. Earth has hope. Again, in the Academy's top room, Lena stood in front of a large star map. Dozens of points blinked across it. Each one was a place the overseers once held. She touched one. It zoomed in. Distant planet. Occupied. Afraid. She looked at her team, then looked back at the cube, now kept in the center of the room. We're not done yet, she said. And this time we take the fight to them.